girl's built like a 1x1 Lego piece. What even is a 1x1 Lego piece? Yep, you're banned.
That's strike one. No, I don't. Reality show. Has a more oxymoronic phrase ever been uttered? I don't think so. Now, I don't satiate my entertainment needs with the likes of nefarious former prom queens and football dolts turned influencers, when the only thing they've ever influenced me to do is find the mute button expeditiously. But no, maybe I should perch in front of my TV and see as Abigail Eris throws her drink on someone. Wouldn't that be good? Oh, garçon, more endorphins, please. It's just getting good. And let's make some idols. Yeah, we'll idolize and let's put some idolatry, right? Inside, yes, idol. And what if? Yeah, let's do.
Baby, lesbians.
What are you, a fucking man? What are you, a fucking man? Are you a boy? What the fuck? What's up with your hair? What's up with your clothes? What are you, a fucking man? Yeah. I mean, no, you're a fucking girl. You're a woman. You're a girl. You're a fucking girl. Yeah. You're an it. You're not even a person. You're a fucking it. You're a thing. Oh my god, right again, man. Thanks, right again. You're a fucking animal. Shit, man. How'd you fucking know?
Marceline, is it just you and me in the wreckage of the world?
Being black and disabled is such a mindfuck because people want to push you into these political categories that not only don't fit who you are as a person, but also that will go out of their way to ignore your existence. Every single time somebody calls me a leftist or says that my ideologies or my politics or the way that I speak lines up with leftism, I kind of have to roll my eyes. Because while ideologically, sure, why not? But the way that leftism operates in practice, this year alone, I have seen more disabled people get pushed out of leftist groups just for asking for masks. I've seen entire platforms ignore that we are still in a COVID emergency and need planning for how to deal with this going years into the future. I've seen survival of the fittest type rhetoric during an ongoing pandemic in which none of the leftists that they're talking to are the fittest at all. And I've seen people get angry at disabled people inserting themselves into conversations that you wouldn't think disability need to be addressed in, but then not realize that if you forget about disabled people, we die. And if you care about any of the other marginalized groups that you claim to care about, disability should be top of mind for everything you do. Because the more marginalized you are as a person in the United States especially, the more likely you are to develop disabilities in the long run. Like, studies are already showing that people who are having the worst time of long COVID are black people, are indigenous people, because of existing access barriers to healthcare. And they're sure as shit not going to be the fittest. And this is why I don't believe anybody when they say that my ideology is the best for disabled people. Prove it. Show it. Act like it. Inevitably, most groups fail this test. Almost all of them. At some point or another. And this is why I say my political ideology is disabled people. What disabled people need. And you can decide to call that whatever you want. A lot of you have the same problem that liberals have. A lot of you think that because you're not necessarily a collective and very disjointed in how you organize, that you're not who you're represented by. But the more times rhetoric like this happens under somebody who labels himself as a leftist, the more disabled people get the impression that leftism is not for them. And you can argue all day, all night about that, but it doesn't change anything.
Cassie.
The other day, a non-binary friend told me, I have a praying mantis in my pocket. And I just thought, that sounds about right. That's such a non-binary thing to do. I bet you got an extra smooth rock and like a harmonica in there too. Non-binary people dress like blimp pilots. No, I will not elaborate. Trans men dress like old-timey radio announcers, but from the future somehow. Trans women dress like Jessica Rabbit, and you all let us believe we're pulling it off, which is nice.
Be the only person on the planet that didn't know that you can just pick a piece of fruit off of a tree.
Hi, yeah, there's actually like a whole story for why you don't know that, and I made a chart to explain it. That's the lemon. Unsurprising to anyone who knows anything about US history, the first part of the story hinges around racism. So there was racism, and then there was the Emancipation Proclamation. If you don't remember, that was when Hat Man said that we were people now. But after that happened, previously to being freed, slaves like foraged and fished and trapped on the lands where they were being held, like on the plantations they worked on. But the plantation owners were like, whoa, buddy, you could gather things when you worked here for free. But I don't like that now. So because of that, the South passes a bunch of laws that turns trespassing from a civil offense to a criminal offense. And that was specifically to keep Black and Indigenous people from foraging on land they don't own. And the kicker of that is, they don't own land. So, bing, bang, boom, those laws also catch on nationwide. So the first chapter of our story closes with people not being able to gather fruits, foods, any sort on land that doesn't belong to them. So that concludes this chapter. The next chapter, also racism. For thousands of years, indigenous groups here in North America managed lands and waters using all sorts of methods like controlled burns, and they formed mutually beneficial relationships with a lot of the plants and the animals and the fungi. And then after that, white people, they got here and they said, this does not look like a farm, so obviously no one must be tending to it. Hashtag untouched wilderness, hashtag we about to wild out in these streams. And they wilded out so hard that they decided, we need to set aside some land where we're not allowed to wild out anymore. And they did that through the Park Service. But when they created the Park Service, they used hands-off conservation, which was based in this original idea that the land didn't look like people were tending to it because it didn't use European farming methods. And so they believed in order to keep the lands immaculate, no one could touch them. And so with that, you can also now not gather food in parks. Love you. So to catch you up, that is now no free food from private land and also no free food from public land. So you can gather food on your own land. So obviously we would still learn how to do that, right? Wrong. Our final chapter and why you don't know that you can gather lemons from trees, classism. All the isms are getting their time. Welcome to the 1900s, jazz and dust bowl, oh no, world war. And as we get close to the halfway point of this century, grocery stores and refrigerators are popping up. It is the cool kid way to be getting all of your food. Oh, only poor people gather their own food. By the 1960s, that's how people were feeling about foraging by and large. Of course, this doesn't mean everybody. Which then leads to, oh my God, no one likes me anymore because Barbara said I act poor. Sad face. So what did people do? They stopped foraging. They stopped picking their own food. No one wants to look poor. Everyone wants to keep up with the Joneses. And who were those people? Our parents and grandparents. And some of you guys are infants, so probably great-grandparents too. So you know who didn't teach us about any of those things? Our parents and our grandparents. So now a lot of people our age don't know. It led to what I call the big food forgetting, in which people in Western communities are super detached from their food. We have no part in it anymore, except for what we pick out at the grocery store, really. And that is why my homegirl thought that her store lemons and her tree lemons were not the same lemons. Honestly, it could happen to anybody. I know people are giving her a rough time in the comments. And that big food forgetting is part of the reason why I make the content that I do, teaching people what wild food they can find in their own neighborhoods. I think we deserve to remember. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Happy snacking, don't die.
The only one left was the little girl, Hind. She said, please, I'm little, I'm injured, I peed myself.
It's psychotic how Hind Rajab died. Like, up until today, we all thought that, oh, the 6-year-old just got caught in crossfire, and that's not what happened. A tank pulled up next to her car where she was sitting in the backseat with 3 of her cousins trying to flee the war zone, and they emptied machine gun fire into their hatchback Kia.
And here's the video that's come in of what they found. This video shows the black Kia that she was in destroyed, riddled with bullets. Hind was among 6 bodies found inside this car, along with her aunt, her uncle, and her 3 cousins. Also,
Hind's family was parked at a gas station, as in the car wasn't even moving, when a tank started to approach them, and then the oldest cousin got scared and called Red Crescent. That's like the Arabic equivalent of 911. They were hoping the ambulances would let the army know that they're just civilians and they're just trying to get to safety.
15-year-old Lion Hamadeh was also shot and killed while on the phone with the Red Crescent.
So Hind is the only survivor after a barrage of machine gun fire. Like, she's literally sitting next to dead bodies, and she picks up the phone to talk to Red Crescent because she's scared. And the dispatcher stays with her on the phone until she can get a hold of the army to let them know they're sending an ambulance to come get a 6-year-old. And you can guess what happens next.
Army also bombed the Palestine Red Crescent Society ambulance sent to rescue Hind. Both Red Crescent medics Youssef Zaino and Ahmed Al-Madhoun were found dead in the wreckage of the ambulance in Gaza's Tel Al-Hawa area. The Red Crescent said Israeli forces knew about the rescue mission, but still deliberately attacked the ambulance, which was found just meters away from Hind's car.
They shot a tank round at the ambulance. Like, the dispatcher quite literally picked up the phone, was like, listen, there's a 6-year-old that we're gonna come rescue. And then the officer's like, sure, come send the ambulance. And when it got there, they blew it up.
we can show you the mangled ambulance that was dispatched to save her.
Politicians in Tel Aviv were arguing about Hind's death, and I shit you not, one of them said they killed a future terrorist.
At the weekend, that girl was found dead in the car, as were the paramedics. Does that constitute a war crime?
I heard about this tragic case. I don't know what exactly happened there, but we've seen how Hamas take over ambulances. We've seen how they embed themselves in the hospital.
So is it okay to strike an ambulance then if that's what happened?
Well, according to international law, when on that ambulance they are terrorists, or if they're on the way to perform an attack, again,
well, they were on the way.
She looked the reporter dead in the eye and was like, well, what if the two ambulance people were actually terrorists on their way to carry out an attack in between picking up the 6-year-old? And then it's like, oh, and by the way, whoops on the 6-year-old.
But every time you criticize Israel, ask, why are we in this situation? This tragic war, this tragic reality that the people in Gaza are living under. Why are they living like this? Who is responsible for that?
The point couldn't fucking hit this lady harder in the face, for real.
Hello? This is your mother. Are you there? Are you coming home?